I appreciate good comedies that are just like unbelievably stupid. You know, you don't have to think to laugh. You know, like, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like a really good, intelligent, smart movie, but sometimes when you actually have to think about everything that's being said, kind of sucks. So, dude, where's my car? I mean, I'm all fans of. Dude, where's my car?
I almost made it through that movie one time, but I did not make it all the way through. But
God.
I still never found out where the car was. But I'm not worried about it, dude. Like, here's the thing, dude. Yo, you sent me a message last night.
All right.
I gotta say, first of all, my name is Mark, and that's Dave.
I'm Dave. That's me.
Yeah, that's right. And we're here to talk about the Thunder. And
like always,
if you're joining us on Spotify video podcast, Apple video podcast, thank you so much. You're one of the first. If you're not, check it out in your app, Spotify, Apple. We got a channel. You'll see us, The Last Storm, Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. If you see our logo, our podcast logo with our faces on it, that's the video. So watch it, check it out, make fun of us. We don't care. I'm the guy with a little beard. Dave's the guy with the big beard.
I got big tits.
What you got?
I like my tits, so you can definitely see them and check them out.
Yeah, see, that's the advantage. You have never seen Dave's tits before until now. So
they're not saggy yet.
Thank you, Dave, for putting that on display. But, yo, so last night, man,
Sure.
you texted me way too late. I was in bed, and I did not see it because I don't bring my phone into my bedroom after night because people text me crazy shit like you did.
Yep, like I do.
About JDub.
Yeah.
Having the potential to be one of the best players in the draft class. And I get what you're saying, and I got pumped, and I started thinking, what are the chances that he actually gets considered for, like, Rookie of the Year or gets an accolade like that? What do you think, man? Am I getting too carried away?
I mean, here's the thing. For somebody like JDub and the way that he plays, it's never getting carried away to say that JDub could be the Rookie of the Year. I think where I want to stand on and say, you know, we've got to look at Josh Giddey, you know. We got to understand that Josh Giddey was one of the best rookies, won the Western Conference Player of the Month, Rookie of the Month for every month that he played in. And yet he still wasn't even on the docket to become Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Year. Yeah, he missed some games or whatever you want to say, but I mean, come on. I mean, like, that's ridiculous. So for JDub to actually make it on the docket, he's going to have one of those years where, like, it's undeniable that he is the best player, the Rookie of the Year. If JDub makes it to the docket, then I think that he has a phenomenal chance of becoming the Rookie of the Year. Phenomenal chance, because in order for him to make it to that docket, he's going to have so many people behind him, and at that point, it's his for the taking. But where I want to focus on, though, and kind of getting the idea of what's going on, is I want to focus on his ceiling in 15 years. When we're looking back and we're looking at the 2022 draft, we're going to look back and really, like, every draft we've ever seen is you take the three players out of the draft that you highlight and say these are the three best players of the draft. And sometimes there's not even three players that you like to highlight. Sometimes there's 4 or 5, but on the average, there's 3 guys that you really like to highlight. They say that, whether it was they helped define the NBA, they helped change the NBA, they helped whatever. And I think we're going to look back in 15 years and we're going to say, obviously, Chet's going to be one of those guys. And the other guy that I want to say that I keep going back to is JDub, man. Like his stats, his way of playing, his ability to understand the game is something I haven't seen in an athlete in a very, very long time. And when I say athlete, that's truly what I mean. He is 6'6", 7'2" wingspan, 42-inch vertical leap. His stats last year in shooting alone were insane. He shot 51% from field goal. He shot 39% from three-point land, and he shot 81% from free throw. Why is that important? Well, in the NBA, there's this thing called the 50-40-90 club, right, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
How many players are typically on that every year?
Oh, typically 0.
That's my point. Yeah. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about a young man that was proved that he could do it in college. And I understand what everybody is saying right now. Small college, blah, 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 bullshit, right? Listen, small college is one thing. Okay, but when you're forced to be the best player on a Santa Clara team that is not known for their NBA athletes, you're demanding 2 or 3 defenders at a time, right? Mm-hmm. Constantly. Like every single time he would roll off a pick, there was somebody that was creating contact. You know, everybody's eyes were on him, yet he still dominated. In fact, we talk about Chet. We talk about the interviews Chet gives. And one of the interviews that Chet was giving was he was talking about Santa Clara, playing against Santa Clara. Chet said, our scouting port was JDub. There was nothing else. That's all we scouted on. It was JDub. Our defense was circled around him.
That's the hardest thing in sports is when a whole team, plans to guard you and then finding a way to excel and play at a high level in the face of that, right?
Yeah.
Like 5 players focusing on you.
He shot borderline 50, 40, 80. 50, 40, 90. I mean, he shot borderline right there, bro. Like, and that's why I keep on going back to like, is there a comfortable ceiling that I'm like, hey, JDub could be here? Well, my comfortable ceiling for JDub is top 100 players in the NBA of all time.
Yeah? All time?
Of all time. This young man has the it factor, guys. Listen, I spent, 7 hours watching game films, watching breakdowns of his game, watching everything else like that. Yesterday, the day before, it was 4 hours. The day before that, I don't know how many more hours I put in, right? I can't get over him, okay? Like, I call it my obsession after Chet went down. I'm like, fuck, I have to look at something else. I got to, focus on something else. And the more I started digging into JDub and the more I started understanding his game, his flashes, and all that other stuff, I started getting excited. And I started writing things down like where would I rank his passing? Where would I rank his pick and roll? Where would I rank this stuff? And I keep on going back to it. And like, he looks so much bigger and better than everybody he was playing against last year. But passer, he's an elite status passer already. Maybe the best passer in the draft, in the 2022 draft, okay? His pick and roll. I call him the pick and roll god, all right? I'm not trying to give him a job or a reach around right here.
But you're doing it, though.
This is for free, JDub. You owe me, big guy. This is a pick and roll god right here. He understands so many different aspects of how to use the pick and roll, how to call for the pick and roll. He makes eye contacts with his teammates. Pick and rolls come. His defense. I put on this as a semi-elite defender, and the reason is it's obvious. Okay, he can defend smaller guys than him. Okay, he can defend bigger guys than him in a mid-market or a small market college, right? But can he defend night in and night out against NBA players at a high level? I think he can, but I'm not going to be like over the top being like, oh my gosh, I'm gushing all over him. He is, in my opinion, going to be a semi-elite defender off the shooting blocks. And that's great. We talked about his shooting, how elite he is there. He creates for himself. He creates shots for himself. He creates driving lanes for himself. He creates backdoor cuts for himself. He creates so many things for himself. It is what we would consider elite status. And then you're looking at making plays for others. This is where I get excited about, is I watched him make plays and plays and plays again that were insane passes, that were insane tips, that were insane these and that. And he got so amped up, so excited about these, right? Not when he would score, right? Yeah, he would get amped up a little bit when he would score, but he would get amped up and excited when his team would do something great, and he was the cause of that. I love it. Some people call it showboating. I call it passion, man. He played with so much passion and so much desire to make his teammates better. It was contagious. And that's why we circle all the way back around in talking about his games, is that when a player shows that he can pass, elite status, pick and roll, elite status, and he can play defense, at least hold his own on defense, he's already a top-end role player, right? Mm-hmm. Then you throw in he knows how to create shots for himself, and he knows how to make plays for other people. That's what makes him a potential superstar in the making. And that's why I get excited. That's why I get goosebumps when I think about JDub going out there and doing things for us, is because there is very few players that I have ever broken down that has the talent level that JDub has. And And I go back to small market guys that are coming out, right? And this is why I bring up Dwayne Wade a lot, right? Obviously, small market Marquette, right? Coming out, a lot of people like, oh, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. Okay. Coming out a little bit older than everybody else. So I look at Dwayne Wade as a great example as where he could be. But again, it's where he could be and where he can be and the further. Now, if JDub comes out and has a similar rookie season as Dwayne Wade did, then every NBA is going to be like, what the fuck just happened in Oklahoma City? You know, because listen, if JDub comes out like Dwayne Wade, like motherfucking like, you know, God 2.0, then everybody's going to stop and say this team is going to make the playoffs without Chet. And it's going to be a known thing because when you have a player of JDub's caliber adding to your team that you already have, it's insane.
So when I look at his game and his ability to create space without like necessarily blowing past people, like it's more when he gets past people, it's because of skill and his ability to really handle the rock. His ability to knock down the 3-point shot makes it so teams have to respect him so much that it creates this this tension where he's got a great step back, and so teams know they can't overguard the drive because if they do, he's going to really slice them. So this combination he has, plus his ability to step way back, like beyond the 3-point line, right? Like this combination makes him incredibly difficult to guard, and it's not fair. But I can't help but think of James Harden, and I'm talking about on the offensive end. But I mean, how do you feel about that?
With all due respect for a man that has, you know, played his entire career, an NBA career in the NBA for like 12 years now, whatever. As somebody that is in love with JDub's game, I would almost find it as an insult to JDub to compare his game to James Harden. Now, James Harden is obviously one of the 75 greatest players in the NBA history, right? But his game was always capped out because of his offensive game was so much better than his defense. His defense was non-existent. If he ever went out there and played defense like he played offense, or like Michael Jordan played defense, or like, you know, Kobe or whoever, I mean, you name him, that was great. If he went out there and played defense and held his own against defense, you would be talking about James Harden as a top 20 player of all time.
I agree.
Maybe even top 15.
Right.
That's where I think that JDub is going to look at. Like, JDub's ability to score is one thing, but his defense is going to separate him from people like James Harden or people like Allen Iverson or people like Carmelo Anthony. These guys that are just the scoring guards that can't do anything else but score. You know, we're watching another one, Jalen Green for Houston. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
These guys that are known for scoring, and that's what they do. Like, it's great to have those players. It really is. Like, you can have a competitive team with those type of players, but you can't win championships.
Yeah. I mean not without
you
building the entire rest of the team to make up for their deficiencies.
Exactly. Look at the way that Golden State's made up for Steph and Clay's lack of. I mean, Steph still holds his own on defense. He holds his own. He's a better defender than James Harden. But they built that team around those guys to make up for those moments. You know, like Houston never really like built that team to make it better for James Harden. I mean, they went out and got Chris Paul, but I mean, look at it. Like, how many, like 1 year, Chris Paul didn't get in a single assist to James Harden because James Harden would just take and dribble the ball out.
Yeah.
You know, like an entire season without getting an assist to a player. I can't even imagine. You know, like, but that's the type of person that James Harden was, is that he just wanted to get the points. He just wanted this. He just wanted that. He wanted a guard to pass him the ball and that wasn't going to shoot. You know, that's what he got with Chris Paul. And it killed Chris Paul's value because obviously Chris Paul himself deserves to be, I mean, look at what he's done for the Suns.
Yeah.
Look at what he did for Oklahoma City, you know, and he got trashed on leaving Houston as like literally saying, we think that CP3 is so much worse than Chris Paul. We're going to give you draft picks. I mean, Chris Paul,
Russell Westbrook.
Westbrook, we're going to give you draft picks. And then the
Which
first
seems
year
ludicrous.
it was like, can we get CP3 back? You know, like crazy, man. Like again, it just goes back to it. And
but when I talk about James Harden and JDub comps, right? What I'm thinking about is specifically, I'm talking about like the feel for the game. If JDub was a lefty, like maybe the comp would go a little bit further. But I'm just talking about that old man style game, his height, his ability to get to where he wants to get, finish around the rim, and then that step back. Like a lot of people have shots that are built different ways, right? But if you can step back and be in your shooting motion, in the same motion, like then you've got a shot built for the modern NBA. And you see it with Luka, and you see it with different players. And that's what I look at JDub, and I'm like, this guy's a natural. Like sometimes players play better when they play against NBA competition, and sometimes players never reach the level of stardom they did in college. I look at JDub and I'm like, he needs the space of the NBA, right? Teams all targeting him has made it so it's hard to shine. And the next phase for his greatness is when he's just another guy out on the court and teams aren't prepared for him because like he's got skills, bro.
I think the way that JDub makes himself in the player of, or the rookie of the year candidate, or at least in talks of it, is when he first scores 40 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna do it. I mean, he's got
It
that
seems
talent.
like it would take something like that to thrust your name into the conversation, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, is that like he's so far behind the loop right now. It's all about names right now in the rookie of the year. You know, like it's all about all this and all that. But if he's going to go out there and have an opportunity to start on a team that's pushing for the playoffs for a rookie, and putting up insane numbers, like I know he can, it's going to be crazy. I mean, I'm just going back through my notes, and I get amped up about certain players, for good reasons. And one of those players was Josh Giddey last year,
right?
I watched after more film of JRE. I got really stoked about JRE. I'm super high on JWill. I'm super high on Chet. I'm still getting to know Jang, and I'm sure we're going to be bringing him up in the next couple of days. But the reality, though, is what I'm seeing here with JDub makes it so that, like, if we only walked away with JDub in 5 years, and that's the only second big contract that we have, this draft was still a success.
All right.
And it's insane saying.
I don't want to think that way, dude. That doesn't feel good.
But, I mean, like, let's just say worst case scenario.
You're fucking up my mood,
a
bro.
game in the NBA.
Dude, listen, I get what you're saying, but my theory is why not have, like, really two of the top, like you said, 3 players in the draft class? That's better to think about than just one, right? I mean, we got them. And
yeah, I choose to think positive, and I know that these two guys together are going to do amazing things. And
no, if say Chet wasn't Chet, right? Say Chet was just like because we really believe Chet will be one of the greats, one of the guys that puts his name up in the rafters, right? And just ultimately, like he's the type of player like a Tim Duncan or something in the long run, where you look back and you go like his position. He was the greatest of his time, or maybe the greatest of all time, depending on how you want to define these things. But I think if it wasn't for having a player like Chet in this draft class, JDub would have a legit chance to become the number 1 player from the draft class. Now, look,
I think that's
sometimes you end up with like a situation where it's James Harden and Steph Curry in the same draft class, right? And James Harden could make a legit case that in a lot of draft classes, he'd be the best player of the draft class, but you have Steph, so it goes to him. It might be a similar situation. You've got one guy that goes God mode, and you got another guy that's like most of the time would have been the best player of the class. Like,
yeah, and to me, like that's a win-win.
Right.
So, like, I mean, like, I guess
think
you can have
Paolo
your cake
has a
and eat it
chance
sometimes.
to be the number 2, and so. But other than that, I think Jalen Williams can start jumping people almost immediately. From the first 10 games in, we'll start recounting this thing.
Yeah, and that's something I threw in my notes here too. It was out of all the players, who benefits the most from Chet's injury? And I think we talked about this on the last podcast too, or 2 podcasts ago. And I think it's JDub. As much as I hate saying that a player benefits, but here's the thing about throwing JDub out there now is that you really want to put as many guys out to spread the floor now. Whereas before with Chet, you'd maybe want another forward out there, but now spread the floor out. Like, let's see what we can do with 4 guards. Let's see what the combinations of the 4 guys that are out there that we like the most. Is it Dort, Shea, Josh, JDub?
Yeah.
Is it Kenny Hustle? JDub? Is it, what's the combination out there that we want to see? And I love it. Like, we have 6'6" guys, a lot of them. Kenny Hustle plays more of a small forward. So we utilize that 6'6" position as that small forward defender. And I like that, man. Dort's a little bit smaller than that 6'6", but he's 6'4", so, I mean, whatever. And he can play that small forward position as well, which, again, it takes away from our guards, Shea and Josh, having to put up a lot of unnecessary minutes against, bigger, stronger guys. I want to throw we heard yesterday that Chet's Liz Frank surgery went really, really well. That's really great to hear.
Yeah.
So it's positive hearing a young athlete got it done. I believe it was in Indiana that he got his surgery done. So
and I saw that the team sent medical staff to oversee the injury,
which is great.
The surgery. Does that normally happen? Is that
regular? I mean, obviously. Okay, so I've seen this happen obviously before, especially in the NFL. You have certain surgeons that are like the top of their medical profession, whether it's a Liz Frank and he's really, really good at a Liz Frank surgery, and they're going to go out and send the team player to go to that surgery. We've seen ACLs. There was a guy that did Kobe's when he tore his Achilles, so he was all over the news when Kobe tore his Achilles. He was going to this doctor and all this other stuff because it matters sometimes. And in a situation like this where it's non-typical NBA surgery, right? There's probably a very few amount of doctors in the NBA that do surgeries on this type of injury because it's an NFL, injury. And that's why I would say that they sent out some of their staff out there, is because I think it's one of those things where, like, hey, you want to see this surgery done? Sure. Let's send some guys out there because it's such an abnormal surgery. And, knowing that my wife has, works in the operating room and is working with doctors all the time about, hey, I want to go into this room to observe this surgery because I've never seen it done, or we have an amputation here. I want to go and be an extra hand and help. And they get those doctors in there all the time that are wanting to be involved in another surgery. So this does not surprise me at all.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it was something I hadn't necessarily seen before from the Thunder, but I'm not saying it's unusual. But what are you saying, Dave? What you got?
Man. Okay. All right. So I'm looking on MyS.news, and looking at different articles and stuff like that. And I happened to come across an article this morning, and it kind of really chapped me. I got really upset. All right. And I want to bring you back to when we played against Golden State. Was that 2016, 2015? We played Golden State. We're up 3-1.
Yeah, that would be 2016.
So we're up 3-1, right? And all of a sudden, we just bomb it. We just lose it.
Right.
And then afterwards, when KD decided to leave and go play for Golden State, there was a bunch of rumors going around that KD actually helped Golden State win. He didn't
I remember
play his
that
best.
shit. Dude,
all right.
For sure.
You remember those?
I mean, I was one of those rumor tellers, bro.
2013, Golden State beats the Denver Nuggets. Okay. After it, Iggy goes and joins Golden State. And the rumors start that Iggy threw the game, a couple games against the Golden State Warriors, and also told them what the game plans were during just before the game so that Steve Kerr could match up correctly.
Never heard that one. That's a new one to me.
And it's all over now. And this is where I get frustrated with, is because we heard about KD, about all these things about KD, and now we have a second situation here. Why is the NBA not investigating this? Because if this happened already one time, why couldn't it have happened with KD, where they're like, hey, KD, we're going to give you all the money that you want. We're going to win championships, but you got to throw this game, because otherwise you guys aren't going to win in the championship. You guys know you aren't going to beat LeBron. So throw this game and you can come play with us.
I mean, I heard back then that there was a fight between Russ and KD in the locker room, which really pissed me off. But then I heard the fight was over whether or not KD felt like he should be allowed to hang out with Draymond Green during the playoff series, which, okay. And then I started hearing that, like, Draymond was, like, talking down Russ, talking up the situation in Golden State, like, really, really leading into it. And then I heard Draymond even brag about these things. So, like, my understanding from what I heard Draymond say was that as soon as the finals was over, before he left the stadium after they lost to the Cavs, he was on the phone with KD and had KD lined up to come. But that was the earliest they could admit it, right? That's what he actually physically admitted. But the question is, like, okay, we know Draymond's a really, like, a top-level player, and he's really good at the psychological element of the game.
Very good.
Was Draymond playing the psychological element of the game when the game wasn't going? Hell yeah, he was.
Why wouldn't he?
Of course you would. And whatever it takes to win a championship.
Double fucking down.
You're down 3-1. And you know what? You start talking to this guy that you're up, that you're down 3-1 to, right? And he's the best player on the other team. And you notice he's not happy. You notice, things aren't good. And it's like, look, we ain't turning on each other. We're down 3-1 to you. And you're turning on each other and you're up. Watch what happens next. You already got him. And he had to know it. And he went into the locker room and he said, guys, I got KD. It's over.
Yep.
KD shut down. I shut him down without having to guard him.
You're right, dude. And that's what's so frustrating, is here we are now in this position that not once is there a situation.
Did you know it? Did you know it was happening when it was happening? I didn't, but when I went back and looked at the stats, like I felt like he shot us out of the series. Didn't you feel like he shot us out of the series?
Yeah, and there was just times like he didn't shoot the ball at the end of games.
Yeah,
like it wasn't KD, and I'm like sitting there going, okay, and it reminds me of. I'm hitting my mic here. It reminds me of, I just watched the Untold Stories of the Flagrant Foul.
Yeah.
Of Donahue, whatever his name is, the ref that bet on the games.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's on Netflix. It's brilliant. Okay, and I'm watching this, and I can't help but correlate what happened with KD with this, man.
Yeah.
And I keep on going back and being like Donahue recognized that there's 6 plays that determine most games.
Yeah.
Anybody that's smart would have known that too. KD knows that. I know that. You know that. Like most games are decided by 6 plays. And if you give up on those 6 plays and you don't give a shit on those 6 plays and they're big plays and they're big plays, guess what?
Yeah.
Your team's not going to fucking win no matter what you do. And when you're the best player. And that's what KD did. That's what Donahue did. And they can sit there and say, oh, no. But we all know cheating is fucking cheating. And that's why I get so pissed at KD for giving up on the Oklahoma City Thunder, because that's exactly what he fucking did. He can sit there and say, I didn't make a decision until 2 days before or a day before, but we all fucking know, KD. We all fucking know that KD was like, I no longer want to be in Oklahoma City. Fuck all of you. I'm handing this to the Golden State Warriors as a gift. My gift to you guys is getting to the championship.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to come play for you.
And look, he gave us a taste. I mean, it was pretty fucking great to get to the championship ourselves one time. So we got an idea. But look, man, all I can think about is getting back.
All that matters.
Like, the finals are pretty fucking awesome. And as awesome as it was to get a little bit of a lead in the finals and feel like, hey, we got a chance, watching it slip away so fast, it still feels like a blur. But I'm not worried about that because, like, that's like we needed this, right? Yeah. Like, we needed our origin story as a team to include heartache. You can't just hit a straight flush or a royal flush as soon as you get dealt your cards and say that you're good at poker, right? If you show up and you run a run like that, and people say, what, you're lucky. And we were lucky. We got lucky, right? But now what happens next, that's going to be what defines like this, like the Thunder's reputation, right, forever. It's not going to be Bill Simmons and him defining that the biggest mistake the Thunder made was trading James Harden. Like the long run, it's going to be Sam Presti's vision that defines this.
I look at this and I think he said something, or it was somebody else that said they should have traded Russ instead of James. And I look at it, right?
That was definitely Bill Simmons, bro.
And here's the thing about it, guys. And I understand that James Harden, in stats-wise, points, whatever, will probably end up being known as a better player than Russ throughout his career, okay? I understand that. But Russ was the heart of Oklahoma City, man.
Yeah.
If you had traded Russ and then kept Harden, like, yeah, we would have been a scoring machine, but the attitude issues that we would have had, the arguing, the fighting, like we already saw what happened with Russ and KD. I can't even imagine, Harden and KD. They would have been.
How long did that last?
That's what I'm saying. Is
it lasted half a year?
Yeah, and maybe it lasts for the 2016 season, like what happened with Russ. Maybe that's all it lasts to. But the point is that then we're sitting with Harden on our team, and if it's me versus Harden, or if I'm looking at Harden versus Russ, I get it. What Harden did in Houston was impressive, but let's just put it out there. What Russ did in Oklahoma City was 10 times more impressive because Harden at least had other players there for a while. Russ had nobody in Oklahoma City. He was averaging triple doubles with nobody else on the team. And I think that's the most impressive thing about what he was able to do, is that his center was Steven Adams. And I'm not talking shit on Steven. I love Steven Adams. He is one of the best centers that I have yet seen. I think that I have yet seen. He's one of the best centers of this generation, and he's going to get more and more credit as time goes on.
Especially if you like the old school type centers like we do, which are the ones who do all the little things, right?
Exactly. And Adams is one of those guys that you have to sit at and look at and say, okay, he's great. But when you're trying to average a triple-double, Adams is not necessarily the person that you want on your team.
I mean, he can help you with a few things, but most of his skill sets are going to take away from what you do.
Yeah.
Except for the screen and roll.
If you're going for a triple-double, you want somebody that's, averaging a triple-double. You want somebody that's going to be able to knock down your shots, knock down threes, get your alley-oops, and Steven Adams was able to do some of that stuff, but I just, again, to me, looking back, we got lucky. We got lucky that Sam Presti recognized that James Harden's work ethic was questionable at best. And I think when he left, and I had a friend that knew some of the establishments that James Harden, frequently visited.
Same places we like to go to, so we can't judge
places. Anyways, and it was one of those moments that I kind of like recognized when he was just like, well, Oklahoma City strip clubs are going to be like poor as shit now. And it was like, he didn't spend that much time at a strip club. And it was like, bro, every night. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, man, every fucking night James Harden was at a strip club. And it's like, listen, would you rather have somebody that goes to a strip club every night or somebody that goes to his family and goes to bed at a decent hour, gets up in the morning and goes and works his ass off?
Yeah. That's what it came down to.
That's what it was. It was the start of Oklahoma City teaching the professional aspect of it, man.
Yeah. And Harden's habits, right, his professional habits or lack thereof, kept Houston hostage the whole time he was there. And as soon as he left, you started hearing the stories about all those things. But in the end, dude, like a lot of people who made a big, splash about saying like, oh, Presti made a mistake. They haven't gone back and reassessed that opinion, and that's fine. But I really believe the only thing that is going to make anybody move past all of that, bro, is a championship.
Fuck yeah.
It has to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then, we're just going to be talking about those things forever. So, like, we need to exercise those demons, man, and we need to move past it.
Okay. All right. Is there a player? I know we're not in the trading mindset. We're not that way. But is there a player that you look at to say, we need a player like that player plugged into this system in order for us to put us over the top?
All right. So my theory is there are two players that I want to point out that I think could really do well. And Al Horford and George Hill are examples of those players.
Wow.
We need a player specifically like Al Horford, who we get an asset for taking, who is a professional and people respect his level of professionalism, a team player, and will come along and fit in and be a leader. Now, are those players available every year? Not necessarily, but what you get for that player is you usually get a pick, and you have to pay that player usually a ridiculous amount of money.
Sure.
For what they bring to the table at that level. We're in the market for that. So I don't know who that guy is. I know I could probably list a few of them, but the thing is, sometimes we'll end up with.
Could Derek Favors be that guy for us?
Well, yeah, he could be. He could
and
be.
He's worth the $10 million to keep.
Yeah, but I also think he could be a part of getting that guy. I think while I like Derek Favors, I feel like these types of players, they have about 1 year in Oklahoma City in them. Now, he could be the guy that sticks around for 2, but you look at Chris Paul, George Hill, Al Horford didn't even make it a whole year, but would you trade Favors for a late first round pick? I would, but I'd also
want
a player
who he is as
the
a
other
person
team gave up
is
on,
more valuable than a late first round.
What? Would you say
I think
he's more valuable?
Him as a person, as a leader, is more valuable than a late first round pick.
I mean, I'm with you, but at the same time, with this roster crunch we have, if we could turn any of the guys that we're not sure if we're going to keep into a pick, I would take that and trust our ability to add a player with a second round, even an early second round pick like JRE. Long run, that has a lot of value. So I don't know where Derek Favors is. I do think he has value. I think, like you're saying, as a leader, and also he showed some really good skill level out there at the 5-out offense. We've talked about that. His free throw line jump shot really got to be money. I mean, that was surprising, but it was really reliable.
It is a money shot. He's one of the best in the league at his mid jump shot as a big man.
Yeah. So I'd be interested in what we could come up with, but for Presti, for the whole thing, man, it comes down to how do we get a little bit better now and give ourselves a chance to get better in the future, and whoever that is. But I do think it's going to be somebody that we know, somebody that we respect, and a team probably midway through the year decides that these guys that they went out and signed and they were good contracts, they're moving past that. Danilo Gallinari, what if all of a sudden Boston is okay, he's not going to play because his torn meniscus, and we can come in, we bring him in, he's not going to play for us probably ever, but we can rehab him and then put him in a position where he can go out and try it again. But you can only do that with so many guys, especially with the roster the way it is. And that's where, there's a limitation and there's a crunch. But I think we're looking for players who are known professionals in the NBA. But right now, that's not going to happen because teams are just kind of put their teams together. They kind of need to fall on their face, and then we can pick up the pieces and help them kind of reset with some of our youth.
Yeah, man. And I think that, as I was thinking there, I was oh, we should get a player like Sam Cassell or, that can lead and all that other stuff. Then I started thinking, I was man, we got Kenny Hustle.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You got to give these guys a chance, right, to step up into the new roles.
Why not? I think that's, we look at it like what Sam Presti does is like every single season's an open book, and every single player is an open book. Like, what will this player do? Just because he wasn't a team player when he played for blank doesn't mean he's not going to be a team player for us or whatever. Like every player, you go in there and you just go with a blank slate. Like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to look at this season and trying to figure out what's going to happen is kind of difficult, but this is not like it was last year where we thought that this team could win 32, 33 games, and barely miss the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
We could have done that if we stayed healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is different because this team is already, in my opinion, better than the team last year. This team is already to that level that, like, coaches in the NBA are not going to be overlooking us. They're going to be like, guys, we got to be careful of this Oklahoma City team. Is that a way of, tanking, or is that a way of saying these guys we got to be careful about because they're going to be so good? Nobody really knows. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about like, hey guys, go half-ass it, we'll win this game. They're not going to try to win the game.
Right.
And we're playing against a lot of teams this year that, halfway through the season, they're going to recognize they don't have a chance to make it out of the first round of the playoffs,
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, fuck this. We're going to tank.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about it. It's funny because in the last few years, we're never going to see a tanking at this level as we're going to see next year. Okay.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of
probably
teams
going to
are
be
go for it.
an insane amount of teams that are just going to go all balls to the wall to tank. Right?
Yeah.
It's funny because this last year should have been that.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be like, oh, wait, we want the number one pick. So we're going to go and just, whatever, like that's where I keep going back to is like, this team is going to surprise a lot of motherfuckers out there. And then when they're all of a sudden putting themselves in a position to be in that, playoffs position, they're going to look at playing the Spurs in the second half and, the Houston Rockets and, what I'm saying? They got Detroit on their list. And these teams that are going to be like, hey, we got to get one more player,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And listen, if Houston doesn't get that one player, and that one player is obviously the number one pick, but if they don't get their player, they're not going to be any better next year, the following year in 2024. And that is our pick from them. That's the money pick from them. That's the top 5 pick that we could end up getting. It's top 4 protected. But come on, man. Like, you and I both know that could be a sick ass pick, and we could trade that, get that, add another player, whatever. But man, I cannot say enough. This is the year, bro. This is the year that we're gonna see this team like claw their fucking way out, like literally claw. I mean, they're in a mud pit right now, and everybody wants out of it, man. So that's why we constantly think that this team is going to do something great this year, is because when you're in a mud pit and you're a bunch of passionate dudes, you don't want to be in that mud pit with a bunch of passionate dudes for long. You want to get out of that as quickly as possible. So that's what I'm saying, is that these dudes want to climb out real fast and get out of there and start winning, because they all know with winning comes, more money, becomes this, becomes that, becomes this, and
yeah, who doesn't want to play on TV, right?
Yeah, I think about it. We have like very small amount of games on TV this year, which is cool, whatever. But
it's better
I wish
for me,
we had
man.
more.
Like, I get my NBA League Pass blocked out anytime they're on like network television or anything. So I'm good. I'm good with it for now. But I'll be having to step up my my Hulu or whatever, my Google TV or YouTube TV. But so yeah, obviously, dude, we know we want to see. There's a lot of people that don't want to see the same thing, though. They want to see this team be bad. They want another top pick. Okay,
I mean,
but how many guys in the locker room do you think feel that way?
But that's what I was going to say.
Zero.
It's like there's nobody. Here's the thing: is that outside of the locker room, outside of the organization,
yeah,
there's a lot of people that don't want Oklahoma City to do good this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ESPN doesn't want Oklahoma City to do good this year.
No.
I mean, nobody wants Oklahoma City to do good this year. And I mean, like, you can say this and that about this or whatever, but like, the NBA is about making money.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a coincidence that we have the hardest record out there when I don't think there's a lot of people that want us to win.
Yeah. For sure.
So, I mean,
yeah.
fuck
listen,
the NBA.
I
man.
love it because we started out midway through, we got all fucked up with conspiracy theories, and now we're ending it with everybody's against us, and ESPN, NBA,
fuck all of them, dude. Fuck
all
them
of them have conspired to make sure the Thunder stay bad. But luckily, we got SGA, we got Josh Giddey, we got Lou Dort, we got JDub.
It's the Sam Presti shackles, bro. It's the only way that they can keep Sam Presti down is by making it sound like everything in Oklahoma City is the worst. Sending old Draymond Green and all these people to break up Oklahoma City teams. They all know it. Sam Presti's the god. And if they let him just be Sam Presti, he's going to destroy every motherfucker alive. And that's that.
That is that. And that's all I got to say too, bro. So we're just going to leave it right there. We appreciate everybody joining us. And like I said earlier, if you are joining us on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, thank you. Now check out our video podcast. It's the one with our stupid looking mugs on it. And if you're on another podcast platform, soon our video podcast will be up. We're hoping to have it everywhere. We also have an Apple Podcast channel where you can easily access it. If you look up OKC Thunder, you'll see our channel right next to The Athletic. So thank you so much for joining us for The Last Storm. We will be back Friday. Thunder up, everybody.